Today, we're talking about augmentation dots. Usually these are just called dots, but there are multiple ways in music that we can use a dot. So I'm specifically talking about augmentation dots, which are used to lengthen the value of a note or rest. These dots are placed after a note or rest and adds half of what came before it. Usually what comes before it is going to be a note. On the left, you can see our dotted half note. A half note in 4/4 gets 2 beats, and the dot adds half of that, so half of 2 is 1, meaning that we add those two together, and that gets us to 3 beats for a dotted half note in 4/4. On the right, you'll see a dotted quarter note. So in 4/4, again, the quarter note gets 1 beat, and the dot adds half of that, or half a beat. So 1 beat plus a half beat is 1.5 beats for the dotted quarter note. Let's do some rhythm math examples, trying to figure out how many beats each of these examples would have. So for our dotted half note, we know that the half note gets 2 beats in 4/4, and the dot adds 1 more, half of 2. So dotted half gets 3, plus another half note is 2. So 3 plus 2, our answer here is 5. Again, we've got our dotted half note, which gets 3 beats. We've got a dotted quarter note. The quarter note gets 1 beat. The dot adds half of that. Half of 1 is a half. So the dotted quarter note gets 1.5 beats. Plus an eighth note gets half a beat, meaning that we've got 3 plus 1.5 plus a half. So this example is also 5. Let's learn how to count with these dotted notes. For the dotted half note, like every note, we start a measure with a beat 1. The dotted half note gets 3 beats, so we're going to draw a line and put 2 and 3 on that line. Here we've got a quarter note, which is just beat 4. The dotted quarter notes get a little trickier. Here we're starting a measure, so we're going to write our 1 to start the measure. Since a dotted quarter is more than 1 beat long, we're going to draw a line. And the dot is half of a beat, but it's the first half of beat 2. So we're going to put the 2 on the line. Then we've got the second half of beat 2. We call that and. And then here we've got a half note for 3, 4. So if a dotted quarter note starts on a beat, we're going to see a big number and then a small number on the line. This next measure, we'll see what happens if the dotted quarter note starts on the second half of a beat. So this eighth note starts on the beat. We get a 1 there. But we've only used half of beat 1, so this dotted quarter note starts on the and since it's more than 1 beat, we draw a line, and we put the next beat on there, 2. So the dotted quarter note gets 1.5 beats. It got half of beat 1, and then all of beat 2, so that's our 1.5 beats. And here again, we've got 3, 4 for a half note to finish out. So if a dotted quarter note starts on the second half of a beat, it's going to be a big and then a number on the line. All right, let's review. We've got our dotted half note. A half note gets 2 beats in 4/4, plus the dot, which adds half of that, is 1. So the dotted half note gets 3 beats. The dotted quarter note gets 1 beat in 4/4, plus the dot, which is half of what came before it. So plus a half means that the dotted quarter gets 1.5 beats. Let's try an example. We're in 4/4, so we start with 1. Second half of the beat is and. Dotted quarter note starts on the beat, so we're going to write 2. Dotted quarters are longer than 1 beat, so we draw a line, and we start beat 3, but the second half remains for this eighth note, and then we've got a quarter note to finish, 4. This measure starts the same with 2 eighth notes, 1 and then we've got a dotted half note here, so that's going to be beats 2, and then 3 and 4 on a line. And one last measure here. We start, eighth note is on the beat, which means this dotted quarter note starts on the second half of a beat, or an and. Draw the line, and we put all of beat 2. That's our full beat, and here's a half of a beat, so 1.5 beats. And then we finish with a half note. Thanks for watching.